Coming up, we let the good times roll at Universal Mardi Gras. I'm pretty sure I've made that joke every single year since we've started talking about Universal Mardi Gras. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about it anyways. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of the Dis Unplugged. This is episode 161 of the Dis Unplugged Universal Edition. The Dis Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Universal vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Dis Unplugged Universal Edition. Today, I am your host, Mr. Craig Williams.
You are always the host.
I'm not always. One day, I will take a sick day. And we just won't release a show. Yeah. So there's that too. So I am your co-host of today, and joined by my co-host, as of always, Mr. Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
To my right, yes, we're rocking the wide shot today, and only the wide shot because we had to use a different camera, one that we would normally use for our show for our special guest. You've seen him before. You're seeing him again now, Mr. Tyler.
It's me.
Crouch.
It's my camera now.
Crouch.
It is.
Hi, everybody.
Well, it's we'll break the fourth wall here a little bit. We just finished recording the Disney World edition of the Dis Unplugged, and so I still do have Taylor Couch stuck in my head. But I'm not going to say that here.
Don't make any crouching Tyler hidden dragon jokes or don't say anything about me being a Tyler Grouch
But Crouch is your name. The crouching joke makes more sense than Taylor Couch.
The joke is that I hate when people mispronounce it. So now everybody's going to mispronounce it. I don't even know how
somebody could mispronounce it. I mean,
you would be shocked at how many people call me Taylor. You'd be shocked. That's
funny.
It's actually I weep for America.
Well, we got good old Tyler.
I get Calvin and Clavin all the time. I mean, I feel the pain, but
yeah, no, it's a tough life we all live. So
yeah, Craig Williams.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey.
Anybody who mispronounces Williams,
it's a hard one.
You do have two first names.
Willie Mays.
I actually have three. I mean, well, Williams. If your first name was Williams, I don't know how you would get by. Williams.
I guess so.
It's a little
Did your
weird.
Parents did want to name you William Williams?
No. But my middle name is Scott, so Craig Scott William. If you wanted to drop the S on that, I could have three. But thank goodness my parents looked out for me a little bit. We're not here to talk about all this stuff.
Okay.
This is called a tangent. You probably came here to hear about Universal Mardi Gras, and so that's what we're going to ultimately deliver to you. You might not remember from the last time that Tyler was on this show, though, but he is our California assistant producer, correspondent, everything. He won out in California. So Universal Studios Hollywood is his home park.
Stomping grounds, my neck of the woods.
And if you didn't know this, which I hope you do at least a little bit, unfortunately, Universal Studios Hollywood does not celebrate Universal Mardi Gras. They do Lunar New Year,
which is coming soon.
It is. I think
it's happening soon.
Yeah, just days away from when we're recording this. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So I know Tyler has been here for Universal Mardi Gras before, but this was at least the first time that he got to experience it alongside with Rhino and I. So see it from our eyes, get a taste of everything around, minus the food. Rhino was puking buckets on Saturday.
Sick on Friday and Saturday, but Craig convinced me to leave the house.
And I'm on a pretty strict diet right now, so I didn't indulge in the food this year. I don't know if you did. I'm guessing
I didn't. I just didn't want to wait in any lines.
Yeah,
that was my thing.
But I will tell you, we walked around and looked at all this stuff, and it looks like the menu's been like redone from last year or anything like
slightly.
that.
And we'll get into that though. Okay. But we'll start at the beginning on Universal Mardi Gras and go through. So this is the all-in-one refresher for you. So what is Universal Mardi Gras? Well, it is a big, long event that happens in the springtime as I talk over background noise happening right now.
Is that Corey Martin? and P. Werner back there, giggling
Just
away in the
hacking
hallway.
But Universal Mardi Gras, of course, started on February 3rd. So that was this past Saturday, and it will run through every single night until April 7th. That is the final night of the event. Every Saturday night.
Long time for that parade to be going every. I'm sorry,
so
you're
sorry.
used to it.
It's
That's usually my camera. It's a long time for that parade to be going every night. You know,
It really is, but every night with the concerts being on Saturday nights, and of course we've gone over the acts so many times, we don't need to go over them again, but Sean Paul, Beach Boys coming up, Macklemore's a big grab, Bush.
fits in the tantrums, bro.
Fits in the tantrums, lots of big acts there, and then select Sunday nights the concerts happen too, but every Saturday night, and Mardi Gras is completely included in your ticket for Universal Studios Florida. The only exception is if you have the lowest tier of the annual passes.
The seasonal one?
Yeah, they changed it to Power Pass, I believe is the correct terminology on it. That pass does not, unfortunately, get you access to the Mardi Gras on nights of the concerts. But then every other night, normal days, you will have access to it. So you can see it with that pass any of the nights as long as it's not a concert night. But if you go in, you go to the main gate, you buy yourself a ticket that day. And if it's on a concert day, you get everything, all included, which is great. The more free events you have, the better. And this truly is, while you heard us mention food, of course you can go around and get food, and you can, just like any theme park, you can go in and spend a crap ton of money on souvenirs, food, all that. But honestly, especially on a concert night, you can get a lot of great entertainment completely for free, which, I mean, minus the cost of the ticket to get in, but still very, very cool. So why don't we start talking about the different parts that make up Mardi Gras along with our opinions. You'll get my seasoned expert opinion, Rhino's qualms.
Yeah.
I keep doing it.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just sitting over here looking awkward.
And then Tyler's opinions coming from the West Coast, as well as really getting the experience with us for the first time. So Mardi Gras starts kind of early afternoonish, and that's when the first big things happen with the event, and you start seeing performers out and about in the streets. And when I mean performers, I'm talking about if you wait until later when the parade, you'll see all these people all over again, because Universal's not going to pay them a full day's worth of work to come out for a parade for an hour. No, they have to put them to work before. So you're going to walk right in, go right down, heading towards New York. And along the way, you're just going to be inundated with people on stilts, and then normal people just dressed up for Mardi Gras running around. They're posing for pictures. They're saying Happy Mardi Gras at you, trying to get the vibe up and exciting. And I love just all the random people walking around. It's a really good time.
Yeah, for somebody who doesn't get to experience this event very often, that's actually probably my favorite part. The fact that there's just everywhere you walk around that whole entire courtyard, you're going to run into somebody in a colorful costume or on stilts,
Yeah, the budget for body glitter this year must be
yeah, there was a lot of body glitter. but that's one of my favorite things is you walk in and you're like, this event is alive because you see so many people working the event that, you feel like it's not just something that was duct taped together.
Yeah,
and we joke about this every year too. Of course, Mardi Gras is a family-friendly event. It's not like the real Mardi Gras in New Orleans, where you hear of people flashing. You don't hear of it. You know it.
That's not how you get your beads here.
Yeah, you don't get your beads that way. But you will notice with these performers as you go down. I would never say they were scantily dressed at all, but there will be men with
topless men
without shirts on, but they'll usually have like a vest or something, and some of the girls are a little bit bosomy.
I think I would go so far as to say some of those costumes were scantily clad.
Oh, see, okay, yeah. There was a couple of girls who were shaking it that in that video I made that I was like, oh, I shouldn't slow this down right here. But
You mean you made the video worse? No, sorry.
They I would say they're not any worse than like the stilt walkers that come out for the Mummy. Sorry, I couldn't remember what I was
with the gentlemen specifically.
With the men,
the men, I guess, yeah, because
Yeah.
there's no ladies, right?
There were a couple ladies though that I would be like, oh, I'm kind of surprised you're wearing that in this theme park.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange, but at the same time, too, I feel like if we're really going to rank it versus other events and stuff, it's still not as extreme as some things that you will see at Horror Nights. So it's kind of in between the two.
When I say this, I don't take that as I don't think it's appropriate. It's appropriate. It's not out of place or anything. And I wouldn't be upset. I would bring my kids there still. It's not like I would say you can't see that, Jimmy. You can't see that.
Yeah, if anything, it's going to be the wives that's yelling at the husband. Stop staring so long. Just keep moving your eyes. That's what I
tell Rhino right now.
Yeah, you know me. I was filming it, and I'm like, they'd come up, and I'd be like, oh no, I don't want to. I don't like these parts.
It was like when we were at Celebration Weekend, and there was just one person that Rhino kept filming. I'm like, okay, it's getting creepy. You need to aim to a different person.
That wizard was fully clad, though.
He was, but anywho, with that, family-friendly event. So you'll see all the performers when you come in, and they're basically pulling you back to the New York section, and that's where you have the French Quarter courtyard set up, as we've talked about in years past, still in the exact same place. Mardi Gras is unique, unlike Horror Nights, where they utilize the entire park. Mardi Gras, really, the hub for it and the only place that it is in New York, and that's where you're going to find a lot of the food options, where they have the classic New Orleans. Cajun and Creole specialties like shrimp po' boys and jambalaya, gumbo,
Voodoo things,
everything voodoo. Why not voodoo?
King cake.
Yeah, king cake. That's another one too. Yeah, and honestly, it was, besides my diet, I also looked at it. And you said that you noticed some things that were different from last year. I personally did not see anything that jumped out. Like, even if it might have been like away for a year, there was nothing that jumped out at me as like, I've never seen this here before. It
seemed like they were going a lot more for finger foods this year than like, I remember last year. I mean, I think it was last year that you got the sub. There was a sub that you got with like sausage on it, and then there was like rice and beans and stuff like that, because like Eli and I shared a platter or something.
I think the problem is that one was kind of pushed back also where the queue was for Transformers. One of the bars this year is literally in the extended queue for Transformers. They only have 2 bars set up in the courtyard, which is just mind-boggling.
To me, that's crazy. Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're getting rid of the alcohol stuff there.
It used to be, just like Horror Nights, lots of bars everywhere where you could get it. Is very limited this year on it. Granted, all the food tents either offered canned drinks, canned beer, bottles of soda, or even draft beer at some. So it's not like you really had to fight to get it, but
no liquor.
Only in like the specialty drinks. So they brought back the same specialty drinks from last year, except instead of a round cup, they went with the same Horror Nights style square cup.
Are you sure those are the same drinks?
Yeah, they are the exact same ones from last year.
Okay, but there were frozen ones.
They also have if you go to like the stand where they sell popcorn in
by the music stage,
York,
the Music Plaza.
Well, no, they have that over there, but in New York, kind of directly across from the Macy's building and the entrance to Mummy, they have like that square one that's always set up. There you can get the frozen drinks too, where they're non-alcoholic, but they will add shots.
Yeah, it's in rum or vodka on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's plenty of ways to get you booze if that's what you're going there for, which I do think is it's an important part of it. It's part of the event. So,
who doesn't like a themed drink too?
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I was sick, so no eating or drinking for me.
They bring in some of the Abita beers, which are right from Louisiana. So I think that's always a great touch and plenty to have. But yeah, in terms of the food itself, they just had all the staples that they've had before. And it's not that I will try them, and we're going to go back and we're going to vlog it one of these times here.
Yeah.
But it's more of the same. It's semi-authentic.
Well, that's
Fair.
the thing. Yeah, I'm not saying that what I noticed differences, or maybe I just didn't take notice to it last year, was it didn't seem like it was even attempting to be like that. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't see that gumbo booth or the whatever. I saw a lot of stuff that was using like voodoo chicken wings or
Voodoo wings. It's a buffalo sauce thrown on chicken
Yeah.
tenders.
Yeah, all that
See,
stuff.
is it buffalo sauce? It was like I thought that voodoo sauce was supposed to be sweet.
They do have some sweeter sauces too, but a lot of times they will just, I mean, the exact same thing you could get out and pay in the courtyard for $8.99, we could get back at our grill. The same exact type of buffalo sauce, we could get a platter for like $3.49. So, but that's not a secret to any theme park. But I don't find the Mardi Gras food to be overly creative. While we say it's semi-authentic because it's inspired by the food, but it's not quite exactly like if you go straight down onto Bourbon Street and order a big pot of jambalaya or gumbo. Probably similar to if you've ever eaten the French Quarter at Port Orleans. If you're going over to Disney, similar to that, their take on New Orleans style food. So it's not necessarily bad, but almost every year when we have our media event, they give us a sampling of what's happened. I can say consistently good on Universal. They have not changed the taste in the 4 years that I think I've gone to the events. It is always the exact same, so I don't expect anything less from it this year. But the good news is they, like last year, annual pass discounts on all of the food booths.
Is it before a certain time like it was last year?
Last year it was before 6, but I was in there after 6, and they were still asking people if they had annual passes. So I don't know if it was a lack of not knowing what time it was, or if they've just eased up and said, you know what, let's give it all night.
Yeah. That's really cool, actually. I mean, if you think about, food and wine and all those, the art, all those things, they're not going to give you annual pass discounts over at Disney at those booths. So
yeah, no,
it's cool.
Good on Universal for actually doing it. So yeah, that is the boost. One of the other things I like as we've mentioned, a lot of the activity happens in that area. They bring in the actual Zydeco bands from New Orleans. And before, they would always put up a stage in that area, and they would perform on the stage. And, it was just like watching a little concert. Last year, they made the change, and they followed through with it again this year, where they just come up in the street to a corner. Specifically, where we saw them this year was right in front of the Louis. It's not a Louis it might be a Louis Armstrong statue that I never noticed. I mean, it's a guy playing trumpet, so I just always assumed it was Louis Armstrong. But it's probably not.
I feel like I thought I saw a sign that said, when I was videoing something, there was somewhere is a sign that says something about Louis Armstrong. I don't know.
That's my ignorance on that one. That's something I should pay more attention to on it. But needless to say, the band comes out and plays, and all the performers just like swarm to that one area, and they turn it into a massive dance party. And I will say, watching from the crowd that we were seeing it all happening in, I'm not sure how many people that weren't performers were in the little round circle having a great time. It could have been only one or two, but there were so many people in that area that it actually felt like a real party.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, the energy was like incredible, because when I got there earlier in the day, I got there earlier than Rhino and Craig did. And I swear the same band was in that courtyard the entire time I was there. I feel like they didn't even take a break. Like, they were there like the entire time. And, this guy has his orange jumpsuit on that kind of has it's got the Native American thing going on, and he was fantastic. He was like, I almost wanted to jump in and have fun, but that would have been weird because I was alone. But yeah, that was actually another one of my favorite parts, along with the people that were out on the street. So
yeah, no, I've never seen that much engagement activity. But then again, it's also, I think, a thing of once it gets to that starting to get dark / after dark period, People really start to loosen up. Maybe they got a good amount of booze in them at that point, and they just really are starting to let loose. But the atmosphere, the energy just really got ramped up, and then that kind of leads up to the marquee part of Universal Mardi Gras, and that is the parade. So the parade, of course, kicks off in Hollywood, just beside the horror makeup show theater, and it takes a left, moves all the way down Hollywood, takes a right, goes through Production Central, all the way up through New York, loops back around, just like the normal day parade, and then ends up, once it goes past Transformers and Mel's, then it ends right back in Hollywood at the same place it started. So, as we always recommend, if you want to make sure you catch the most amount of beads, the best place to do it actually... Bees?
Let's not start that again.
Wait, that's a part, the yearly tradition that we'll turn in. We'll just start doing it now for the next 2 weeks and then forget about it, just like we used to do with Mr. Senka and his sesame cake.
Wow.
That's a long time for that, but that's a throwback. If you don't know what we're talking about, you got to go back into the archives for that one. But yeah, our recommendation on the parade is if you want to catch the most amount of beads, you can sit yourself up in the middle of the parade route, and you're gonna get a good amount. In New York area, I always recommend the easiest way to do it. Try to get a little bit in towards Hollywood. Try kind of get around the Transformer Theater, because by that point the floats have already moved down one city street, and the people start to realize, I need to start throwing these out.
Yeah.
Because then they go through another one. Then they'll get to like New York, and they'll be like, okay, I need to start holding back. I've got to save.
Yeah.
I've got to save these. And then they get towards the end, and then it's like, oh no, I still have way too many beads. I need to start going crazy again. So if you wait kind of by the Terminator area, you're going to get a good amount. But then you can also, as soon as the last float passes by, you make your way over to Mel's, and you might have to stand a couple people deep, but you will then catch the start of the parade all over again. It'll basically be there by the time the last float passes you by that area. So you get double the fun in it. And I mean, we didn't do it this year, but I think every other year we've kind of done the back and forth on it. It's just... It's fun to catch as many beads as possible. Rhino goes crazy on it.
We weren't even trying too hard. Got a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I was too sick to get to be too emphatic, but they were. You hold a camera, and they'll try and horseshoe your camera.
So Rhino and Tyler will go through the 6 new floats, our opinions on them. But before, I just want to get especially Tyler's opinion. What was your opinion on the parade? I think you said this was your first time actually watching it all the way through.
Yeah, I've definitely seen parts of the parade before, like when I've been trying to get to Harry Potter or whatever,
Yeah.
But this was the first time I stopped and just actually took it all in, and I really enjoyed it. I think the one negative thing I would say about it is that, like you were saying earlier, all of the performers are out all day long.
Yeah.
So you get you take in the costumes and everything before the parade starts.
Yeah.
So that's not that's not they get a lot more body glitter when the parade starts, but other than that, but overall, they're doing it a lot this year, but I've always been impressed with how far they've gone with the floats and everything for how short of a time they've done it. And I know, like I said, they're doing it much longer this year, but it's a great parade because it has such high energy, and a lot of the people are like guests and stuff too that are in the parade, right? So
yeah, it's a mixture. They did annual pass holder signups for it, and I believe that filled up before the event even started. So that says a lot. That means a lot of annual pass holders, a lot of people have become annual pass holders and are very interested. I know on select nights, team members were able to sign up to ride the floats. They, when they have special guests come in, like corporate groups and stuff they want to impress, they'll throw them on the floats too. All that. Yeah. You can always do standby. Just go and stand in the Barney Plaza area where the Barney fountain is, and if they have extra spots, you can sometimes get lucky and get thrown on a float. So it's not a guaranteed, but it could happen.
Yeah, and I think my favorite thing about it is that they have these people on the floats throwing the beads, and unlike most parades, you like start to feel a connection with the people in the parade. You know, like you make eye contact and you kind of smile at each other, and then the guy throws a bead right at you. You know, you're like, oh yeah, he threw that right at me. You know, like So it's just fun to make that kind of personal connect, like not personal, I guess, but that quick connection. And it kind of adds a little interactive element to it.
I know what you mean, because the first 2 years I covered Mardi Gras, I went with Corey. And of course, Corey rides on one float on Mardi Gras Day, and he walks in another crew. And so, like, when he even goes to this, like, obviously he knows it's just fun and kind of, he jokes around with it. But when the parade would start and, like, they're throwing out the little crappy beads, he hates them. He likes the big real beads that he buys and spends thousands of dollars on, which is just insane.
Oh my gosh.
But, like, he knows how to taunt the people on the floats. To like, so he can, like, he'll point at them, get their attention. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, he just, it's like he has this mental connection with them when he's watching that parade, and especially when he's taking photos, because he wants to get the toss of the beads right at the perfect point. It's actually a wonder. So you're absolutely right. You do kind of, you get that connection with the people on the floats. It's not just like waving as it's passing by. It's a definitely a high energy performance the entire way through. I mean, these people have to be burning some calories off by the time they get to the end of it.
Oh, and I can't imagine, it's a long day for them too, because like we said, they're there all day. They're meeting people all day long. So
they are, and I will give them credit. It's every now and then you'll catch them kind of just like when no one wants pictures and stuff, you'll catch them kind of just talking to themselves and that, but when people are actually active and engaged and want to meet them, they are like, they do not break the high energy the entire time, especially during the parade. But the big part of the parade this year, as we talked about a couple weeks ago when we were, it could have been even longer than that, I don't remember at this point, but the new theme for this year's parade, which was celestial, celestial beings. And so we had the 6 different new floats that were being added. This, of course, the ones that came back were the
alligator.
The alligator.
Alligator.
Yeah, alligator always ends the parade. Starts out with the steamboat, which the steamboat used to be towards the end, but that got all flip-flopped. You have the Jester's float. You have the King and Queen float. You have the jazz float with the balconies that kind of looks like Bourbon Street.
With the real flame in the lanterns. That was what impressed me. I was like, look at the fire in the lanterns.
I don't think I've ever even noticed that.
Really?
No.
Well, okay, there you go.
I don't look at the details.
Go watch your video.
What is this, a fun theme park? Oh, I'm trying to think of what the last float is that I didn't mention, so it's not coming to me. But the new ones this year, of course, the first new one that we got to see while it was moving along was Orion the Hunter, and I'm looking at the old concept art for it and stuff. So what?
I don't think that one looks like that one.
No, I will actually flat out say I don't think. Well, the concept
has a lot of detail on the statues, and I don't think the statues are covered in the color and the detail like they are. The float maybe, but not the statue on the front of the float.
Yeah, definitely. When we released the concept art for y'all, and we were kind of going over it. That's why it's concept art, because it does not end up looking the exact same.
I mean, I'll say the floats overall looked great. So I'm not dinging the floats at all.
Yeah, no, always very colorful. Looked pretty amazing. Orion was the first one that came out, majestic with his bow on top. I was relatively impressed with this. What I liked about this float was towards the back, they had like a little cottage, kind of, almost like a gazebo type thing. I thought there would be people up there throwing, but instead they had another one of the performers with her bow, and she was kind of like standing up there, just posing and watching and waving. I like that. I like that they added the entertainment up on top of the float too. So it kept you interested in what was happening up
Yeah.
above as well as the ground. The next one that came by was Virgo the Maiden, and this one was a very blue. She did have her wheat, just like like we expected, but just very blue, colorful,
Yeah.
like all of them.
Gabba Deba Die.
I have a favorite one.
Okay, I think the
know which
next
one it's gonna
one, the next one was my favorite because as Tyler said, lanterns, which I think of fire then. So my favorite one was Taurus because Taurus must have taken over a lot of the same structure and design, like from the old Day of the Dead Mexican float that they were using for a while, because that was your fire float. So you had Taurus just right at the front of it with a big bull face and the big bull beard. But then in the middle of the float, you had the flames. A great big bushy beard. You had the flames just bursting up, firing away.
That was a cool one too. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy a good fire float. I don't know why. It just
Do you like the effects?
it goes well with Mardi Gras. Like some of the floats shoot out confetti and stuff, and I like those ones. There's nothing wrong with those ones. Confetti's always fun, but I like to see the flames. Like you always almost stop and like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was thinking about when I saw the fire coming, and I saw there was confetti flying all through the air, and then the fire was spraying up, and I was like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of ashes falling on people's head or something, you know.
The next float that came through in terms of the new ones was the Serpentarius, and I did like a couple little details on this. It was the actual serpent that was going around the man.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite
It
one.
was kind of glowing up and lighting, but then there was also some smoke effects too, if I can remember correctly. So I don't know. I just something about it really flowed. I think it was like the whole serpent pattern throughout. It kind of.
You were like, can I see that man's wiener?
That's what you were like?
Well, he's like sitting there naked, serpent around him, and it's like the legs are like this. And I was like, geez, that one float is very like in your face, like got this snake covering my junk.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. That's one of those.
But I liked the lights on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool looking.
That's one of those things like when we used to see statues in Hilton Head Island.
This one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that one. There was at Hilton Head
Wiener
Island. There was like a Neptune statue on one of the areas, and deep down, like I was always like, it's just like barely covering, and I was always that person like. Do you think they chiseled the junk over top?
I'm not even trying to be crass. It's literally what I thought. Like, if you watch, I mean, I guess
You have to
might
be a
not have the
Patreon.
details. I made a Patreon video, but I have a close shot of that statue, and it's very like I don't know, for something that's like a new float. I enjoy how the guy is very detailed and like he is struggling with this snake, and it's cool looking. But then you're like, did they put everything there? You can't. It's when it is right in your face. You just start to be like, not trying to in a crass way, just in a. It's clearly a display of the human body. That's what I was thinking. And I was like, wow, the commitment to making these look like, we said celestial, but they all look like David or like those kind of old Renaissance marble carvings. I don't know if I use the right terminology.
Which
for
a lot of
Renaissance
those
or not,
were from the Greek gods, kind of that whole idea and style.
I
so
think
it
they
really
did a
does play
good
all
job
together.
with that.
Yeah, and another one of the floats that really impressed me, the next one in the lineup was Scorpius, and this definitely made use of the smoke effect.
Yeah,
so
I like this one.
you had the scorpion right on the front. Remembered at that time. Did not need to ask you about what Scorpius reminded me of. But yeah, it had the smoke effect going,
The Mummy
blowing
2.
out to the side. What?
Oh, I thought
the
you meant like
Scorpion King.
the Scorpion King.
I
The Mummy
gotcha.
2.5.
I gotcha. You're funny. But Scorpius, really well done. And then the last of the final floats was the Andromeda one, which again, it was very, very blue for most of the time. And Andromeda, another one of those questions for Rhino, probably because she had hair covering up her bosoms with lights on
I call
them.
this one the Alanis Morissette float. 'Cause she came out and I said, thank you.
Yeah, she did have lots of chains.
That's the song. Sorry if
But-
nobody doesn't understand that age-old reference that we just made. But
And while the floats were cool, like Tyler, we've been talking over and over again about the performers, but As Tyler said, they get a little bit more glittered up for the actual parade itself. But then in this case, I know they also added a few new props this year for some of the floats. Rhino's going to talk about one of them.
Well, one guy had like the who's the one that runs? What's the god that runs?
Oh, Apollo?
Yeah.
No.
Isn't?
No, it's not Apollo. In Hercules, he runs really fast. He's the messenger.
Hermes.
Yeah, he's got like the hat that looks like it has the Hermes wings on the sides here, and then he's holding the head with glowing eyes of Medusa.
Yeah,
that he's got. And I thought that was really cool. And then I was making
that guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when I was making the video, I kind of went as I was looking more and more at each of the groups of people that were going in between floats. It was kind of cool how some were just like the typical Mardi Gras party theme stuff, and then there were some that was like really themed to the float that they were with, and I thought they did a good job with that.
That was kind of one of the cool things about the traveling people during the day too, is they all stayed in their own little groups, so you could go and take a picture with all the voodoo looking guys or all the people that like Craig was talking about, the ladies with their bow and arrows, so you can, it was like you could choose who you wanted to take a picture with. It was cool.
Yeah, they are always themed to like they always have a theme going with the specialty floats, the ones for the theme, and they all have costumes that correlate with it. But I will say this year, I think that is one of the best times that it's come together. The last time that I can think of was the year that they did all like the steampunk forms of transportation. Like if the train float, everyone kind of had like the engineer's look to it. For the flying, the plane one, everyone kind of had looked like an aviator. So, but this was definitely, each person was themed to the float they were with, and it was one of the best examples of it that I've seen in years with it. So I love this float, or this parade as a whole. I think it's awesome this year, and we say it every year. This might be my favorite parade, like in general, in a theme park. It just
this one was definitely excellent.
Yeah.
This year might be my favorite of the years of the Mardi Gras parade as well.
I agree with that too. It's just between the interactivity with catching beads and
I know it was day one, so we don't know that it'll hold the same way like on day 40.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It seems like everybody was having such a great time, and it is the energy of getting the beads or something like that. But it wasn't even that this year for me. It was like the in between the floats. So I was like, okay, move the float along. I want to see because all the dancers looked like they were really having fun. Yeah, and a lot of them would come up and talk to you.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "Happy Mardi Gras, y'all!"
Yeah. And the costumes were just like amazing, I really thought they were really great, especially those bow and arrow ladies. I really liked them for some reason. I agree with you. I don't know why.
Just, anytime you throw in props, and it's just like it takes it up a notch.
Yeah, I guess so. There were also a couple guys. There was a guy dressed like an antelope and a lion, and they were always hanging out together. Yeah, and I like those guys too.
This bird gentleman I'm looking at right now.
Overall, Mardi Gras Parade definitely hit it. Try to hit it, even if you're not coming for Mardi Gras, but you're coming in the time period here, anytime now through April 7th. Please watch the parade. It is one of the best things that we could ever recommend to you. It is a must-see parade, in my opinion. You can fight me on that all you want. I think it is.
Also, something that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really know that well, but it wasn't hard to find a spot really either, it seems like you could, unlike a lot of Disney parades or something, you could literally just walk right up when it's just about to start and get a decent spot.
Yeah. No, there are definitely places better to watch than others. As I said, my recommendation is in Hollywood, particularly around the T2 Theater. That being said, there's no bad place to watch along that Hollywood stretch. I think there's, it's just, if you're closer to the start, they tell you when you ride the floats, okay, don't use up all your beads right away. So for that first little bit of it, they are a little stingy on how much they throw. So just be aware of that. Once you get a little further down Hollywood, that's when they start to loosen up and they get excited and start throwing more. Always a popular spot, but you have to get there very early, is right outside the Music Plaza stage, and this is specifically on concert nights. On a normal day of the week, you're not going to have a ton of problem with any area, but on concert nights, you have to set up early if you're going to be there. And I do recommend that if it's a performer you want to see. If you're not going to just wait as close to the stage as possible, if you want to see the parade too, stake out a spot there. So that way, as soon as the parade's over, you can literally turn around and try to get as good of a spot for the concert as possible.
Yeah, for Sean Paul.
But sometimes, like, I used that tactic when I saw Huey Lewis there a couple years ago. Watched the parade, was able to turn around and still get a decent spot for it. On a night like Sean Paul, it was a little busy. It took us a little while to meander
wasn't
over.
Kelly Clarkson busy?
Yeah, on like a night like Kelly Clarkson, what will be when Macklemore comes.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, if you want to see the concert, get a spot for the concert.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
there's
the
no in
parade.
between. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, sorry, going on with that, New York, usually you don't have that many problems with it, but it's New York. People know it from the Macy's parade, so they always set up there too. It can get a little jammed. One of the best spots you'll have is right on the other side of Starbucks and kind of by Terminator 2. Essentially, that's a great area to be in because not a lot of people want to stand there. It's you don't think about it because it's such narrow, winding streets. You don't really think like, oh, I'm going to stand here to watch the parade.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendations on all that. And we kind of went over the concert prep guide too with that.
Yeah.
If it's a big name and you care more about the concert.
Get there early.
Yeah, get there early. So we were there for Sean Paul, like you said, at about 7. I would say about half of the area was kind of filled up where you can watch the show at, so it wasn't that bad. Parade started at 7:45 our night, but it varies. Some nights on concert nights it's a little bit later, so that way it goes straight from the parade to the concert. On nights where there's not a concert, it can be as early as like 5:15, I believe. So that's on nights when the park closes at
Yeah, that's a good point.
6 or 7, it kind of has to be that early.
Good point.
But yeah, just think about who the performer is and be honest with yourself. Like I in my opinion, I would be like, I know I talked about it when they got announced, like with Bush. Like, oh yes, that's one that you're going to have to get a good spot for. In reality, no. You will probably be able to show up right as the concert starts and still get a decent spot.
Yeah.
That's a reality. Just because you love the artist that's playing, that doesn't mean the entire population of people who are going to.
What?
I know.
Are you sure?
I am positive. I would consider myself a semi-expert on Universal Mardi Gras and the concerts that come around with it. So, but you do run the risk on like the Kelly Clarkson night. I guess all 3 of us were there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know you guys at the time.
You didn't know us.
Yeah.
I knew Rhino, but we couldn't get to him because he had rode a float and then was like blocked off. I was in a different area. I could only get to Shrek. So I could barely see the screen that was showing the concert.
I was just trying to get to Harry Potter, and we could not. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We could not move. It was bad.
Yeah, so definitely think about what your priorities are. If the parade's your priority, get a good spot for a parade. Like I said, in one of the ideal areas. The concert's your number one, just go for the concert. If you really want to do both, you only have that one shot. Try to get in that Music Plaza area so that way you can bounce from one to the other right away, nice and easy. But 2 nights now. I think just break it up over 2 nights. You got that time. So that, in a nutshell.
This is me in a nutshell.
Yeah, is that what you're...
Hey, why didn't we talk about Austin Powers earlier?
I don't know.
It's getting so warm in this room.
I know, it is getting very warm.
I'm breaking sweats right now.
It's as if the air conditioner broke again.
It must be warmer back there because I've got my sweatshirt on. I'm feeling kind of nice.
Oh, it's awful
I'm
in here.
literally about to start pouring it under here. It's going to rain
But it's
here.
okay because, we're basically done with this. Final thoughts on this year's Mardi Gras? Even though we didn't have the full experience, just the light experience. We'll add the food in later, but I'm impressed after night 1.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think it adds a lot of energy to the park, and that's what that's what you go to theme parks for, to feel like you're going into a living, breathing world, right? So.
Yeah, completely agree. That is excellent. So I guess that's it for this show. We'll have more on Universal Mardi Gras later on. But as always, if you need any extra information, head over to disunplug.com, home of our show notes for this show, all the other ones, with links to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our social media, just anything you could ever possibly be interested in. Maybe not. Of course, too, there you'll find our email if you ever want to email us questions. We're about due for another question and answer show coming up here.
Yeah.
So always can send us any questions at uopodcast@disunplug.com. We'd love to answer them on air for you. And I guess all I have left to say is thank you to Rhino and Tyler for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And thank you. And
guarantee.
and of course, thank you so much to our audience out there for listening and watching each week. Of course, we always appreciate you coming back and hope you get a lot out of this, whether or not it's good information. Hopefully, at least it's entertaining information. So we do it for you, and thank you very much. But unfortunately, that's going to do it for this episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. We will be back with you next week for another episode. But until then, remember, no resolutions. Let the good times rule.